Now, with all this, we can come to some conclusions. We can see that XRP often moves along with the markets as a whole and along with Bitcoin. And the markets as a whole often move together with Bitcoin. If Bitcoin's in a good mood, the market can proceed up towards its normal projections or its normal targets or their existing setups. A lot of times we find setups that are similar to Bitcoin's action. And when we look at Bitcoin, we're able to find some things. However, what if I told you it's better to actually look at a different coin? Because if Bitcoin looks like it's the master puppet, what if Bitcoin itself is just being puppeted by Tether? And what if there was a way we can chart Tether that looks more better than the just simple printing and non-printing versions that I showed you? Actually, there is. There's a new chart that I have been completely unaware of, and I'm going to show you what it is. The chart I'm going to show you is a new chart. The name of this chart is called USDT.D, Market Cap USDT Dominance, calculated by TradingView. Although they're probably not the only person who has a similar chart to this. This chart looks awfully familiar. Let me show you a better view. This is USDT.D. Does it look familiar to you? No? How about now? How about that? Does this look familiar to you? What about those 3 points? 1, 2, 3. Bitcoin, USDT.D. Very interesting. I'm going to be showing you some things that I was able to use on this chart that I was not able to use on Bitcoin. Things that can really help us to understand the markets as a whole. This chart almost looks identical, almost candle for candle, although this chart makes a lot more sense than Bitcoin does. Let's give you a few examples. For one, I'm able to calculate some supports and weaknesses that I would not be able to calculate. Let's start with this green parabolic curve. By connecting these tops, I was able to see that price broke above and we're actually sitting on support. Interesting, right? That means that price broke through for a reason. And though I do expect Bitcoin to come down, I expect us to be going to some support areas somewhere in this range. It may look something like this. These are very crude, and I have a lot better charts to show you. But as an example, this is just one. But look at the same chart on Bitcoin. Now here's that same chart again, but look at the parabolic. We're not even able to draw it anywhere close to where it's at right now, let alone be able to see the same strength. And this is being generous with the parabolic curve. The curve should look natural. The curve should be balanced and in harmony. Let's look at a few more examples. Look at this one. Look at volume. Volume looks very organic. You can see as price was falling, volume was also falling. Very natural. See how this is more natural? This is how volume should look, pretty organic. We can see slow rises, slow falls, and every now and then we'll see sharp spikes. This volume is easy to read. This is on UST.D. However, let's take a look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin's volume looks all over the place and very difficult to read. This is how volume should look, more or less smooth. Although USDT is not without its own manipulation, they try to hide things on the charts. Let me give you an example. As of right now, this looks pretty normal, but if you update the chart, take a look at this. This has been the manipulation that I saw on USDT, and it lets us know when something fishy is happening in the market. Look, this is how the charts were updated, almost like something is being hidden. This is not organic. This is also not photoshopped in any way. Something is very suspicious or being suspiciously done. Again, this is not Bitcoin. This is USDT. This is US Tether market dominance chart. There are some good things. We can calculate tops a lot quicker. Take a look at these. By connecting these bottoms, we were seeing that they were at the start of a peak. And then we can start drawing some of those peaks and cutting those lines. Let me give you some examples. By drawing these peaks, we were able to see that we're underneath the trend line. And then taking the next two, we were able to see that we're also underneath here. See? Here. Then we can connect those, and we can see weakness has greatly appeared. Also, normally when price comes down, we're able to get some strength at a sword cut. We can see that price should have rose here, and it did until it was met by the strong force from here. then price came down. When we drew this trend line, we saw that we were now underneath price here, and price came down. The next support should have been here at this level, but we never got it. And so that resistance became, that support now has become a resistance. We would now draw that line here as the new sword cut. And sure enough, we found resistance. Just drawing quickly, we're able to see that whole segment dissected very easily. This would have let you know it's time to exit Bitcoin. However, on the daily chart, dissecting Bitcoin was not as easy. We were able to get some points, but price never came to the tops of these like it should. We did get a sword cut, but then we came right back over. This area should have been here. We were finally able to calculate a sword cut here, and even then, it looked a little funny and wasn't correct. These lines were penetrating that sword cut, and I'm being generous with the line. We didn't have some accurate support though, but we should have known a lot sooner when it was time to get out. It shouldn't have been at the last moment. Look at the days when we got notification for this. Around May 1st, May 8th. Now let's look at USDT. With USDT, we were able to see tops all the way back in March and April. Also here, this one right there, we were able to see that top back in April and May. And then finally, we got a very clear and accurate signals, very accurate. I'll show you one more time. Here's that one more time. You can see that we have very much accurate signals. We can see that price did not break that line. These were very, very clear signals. And yet it was the same trade on Bitcoin. Bitcoin was not clear. It was almost as if the data has been hidden from you. This is very dangerous because this type of manipulation is something that I am not familiar with. I know a lot of market manipulation happens, but this is something very blatantly obvious. I can see applying the sword method to this particular chart could give me much earlier and more accurate signals with volume, as well as just drawing our dynamics. So these trend lines, what I call dynamics, because they're constantly adjusting in price, these ones are very clear. This made me very upset because so much information is being hidden. This is just one example. This happens on much smaller time frames as well. Look at the correction we had. We had plenty of time to enter these trades and know what was happening. But on Bitcoin, it was more difficult for people to see. Let's look at some more. This volume was very smooth. As we were coming down, we can easily tell the volume was drying up. The markets were telling us they don't want lower prices, but this was not as clearly seen on Bitcoin. If we're looking at Bitcoin, this volume seems all over the place. Now you can see why I'm upset, that so much data is being hidden from us, and yet it was the same exact trade and moved on the same exact days. One chart was correct. The other chart that supposedly moves the whole market was very obscure and hiding a lot of information. I was able to find a lot more examples, but these are just so that you kind of understand the similarities of where they're coming from. So where does this leave us? What is happening with price action? What is happening with Bitcoin? Please stay tuned for the next video, and I'll be showing you a lot more charts than this. We'll look specifically at USDT to show what it's actually showing us now, where I suspect the entry will be, and when I'll be buying my XRP next. Stay tuned.